there are some big influencers in the sports card world right now because of YouTube, and also for anybody that's been in this long enough, like a Gary Vee would be a good example. So Gary Vee and I both had the same kind of experience. The only difference is that I was a dealer when Gary Vee was a collector. Gary Vee is now a dealer and I'm a collector. So we switched after 40 years. But Gary Vee grew up in the same area that I grew up in. He went to the same card shows that I went to. In fact, Gary Vee probably bought cards from me when I was a dealer in high school. Hello, everybody, and welcome to EEI Sportscards. So one of the topics that I get asked all the time is, can you still make money with sports cards? And so I figured I'd just come on and kind of give my tips and tricks and advice. So if you're new to this channel, just so you know, I am a 40-year first dealer and then collector. And so one of the things that I want to be able to explain to everybody here on Instagram is that I have seen over 4 decades what the hobby is and what the hobby became, and then what happened during the pandemic and what is happening now. And what I want everyone to understand is that over 40 years, you get to see a lot. So there are some big influencers in the sports card world right now because of YouTube, like a Gary Vee would be a good example. So Gary Vee and I both had the same kind of experience. The only difference is that I was a dealer when Gary Vee was a collector. Gary Vee is now a dealer and I'm a collector. So we switched after 40 years. But Gary Vee grew up in the same area that I grew up in. He went to the same card shows that I went to. In fact, Gary Vee probably bought cards from me when I was a dealer in high school. Yeah, so I was a teenage dealer and I did a show basically every week. So what I need you to understand is that there is no such thing after 40 years, and I did not know this 40 years ago. So I learned this after 40 years, is that there's no such thing as investing in sports cards. So does that mean you can't make money with sports cards? And that's not true. You can make money. In fact, there are some people that are making very good living off of sports cards, or you can just live off sports cards. It's possible to make per year, anywhere from 30K to 100K off of sports cards. And that's profit. But that's not investing. That's buying and selling, because baseball cards are a product and you can buy and sell products and make money. The difference between sports card collecting or buying and selling and sports card investing, and this is what I need everybody to understand, is that when you invest in something, it has to be an asset. And baseball cards are not an asset because there's no value. Like, the value of a sports card is so ephemeral. If you don't know what that word means, it's basically made up, that there's nothing to invest in. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't load up on certain cards because of a trend or a name, or if you feel like a player is going to be in the Hall of Fame and you're like, you know what, this card will probably be worth more in the future. That's not really investing. That's just being smart. If you look at sports cards compared to Wall Street, now Wall Street has its own game going on, but if you look at a company, you have something to study. The company has assets, so they're worth a certain amount of money. So they have computers and land and offices they own. That's worth a certain amount of money. And that's how a bank would actually start to value that company. You also have the revenues that the company generates, and you have past experience. Usually 3 to 5 years, you want to look at a company to see, well, do they make money over time? Now, also, you need to understand that according to the Small Business Association, the SBA, 50% of small businesses fail within the first 3 years. And if you go out 10 years, they 75% of them fail in a 10-year time frame. So even investing in a company or a stock is a risky proposition, and you need to understand that. That's why if you look at blue chip stocks, typically a blue chip stock is a stock that gives a dividend, so that you're getting paid to hold the investment. And so that's where investing makes sense, because you're getting paid to put your money into that stock. It's not unlike a bank account. Now, here's where you need to understand. You used to get paid to keep your money in the bank. That was what interest was. Interest is gone. There's no such thing as interest anymore. So would you rather park your money in a bank where you get nothing for it, or would you rather park it in a blue chip stock that gives you 3 to 5% of a dividend? Makes sense when you think about that. But how much do you get from a sports card? Nothing. So really what you need to understand is, do you want to park your money into a card where you get nothing back, or would you rather invest in a stock that gives you a dividend? Only you can make that decision, but be very clear that over 40 years, I will tell you that 99% of sports cards do not appreciate in value. And what I need you to understand is there's a difference between appreciation and inflation. And that's what I had to learn over the 40 years of my sports card collecting, first as a dealer and now as a collector, is there's a huge difference between appreciation, where the card actually increases in value, and inflation, where a card's dollar amount goes up because we live in 2022. So if you bought, so here's a perfect example, I only know this example because I was a dealer. So I put myself through college basically on the 1989 Upper Deck Ken Griffey card. And any person that I've talked to in the hobby knows that. They know this story really well. And so I'm going to share this one with you. So back in 1989, and that was deep when I was a dealer, the Ken Griffey Jr. card, rookie card, was the hottest card ever. Now, obviously, since we know there's God knows how many millions of cards that were printed, it still doesn't matter. It's still one of the hottest cards. Now, back in 1989 and 1990, that rookie card was selling raw, because nobody graded cards back then. But so that card was selling raw for about $400 to $500 a piece. I know, insane, raw. All right. So I sold them for $200 to $250 a piece. And I basically supplied all the dealers in the New York and New Jersey area, some in Pennsylvania. So if they needed Ken Griffey Jr. cards, they would call me up and be like, hey, can I buy 10 cards? And I'd be like, okay, yeah, absolutely. I'm going to be at this show, because, you didn't send cards through the mail. There was no eBay. So that's not how it worked. I was like, I'll be at this show and I'll have 10 cards for you. And they'd come, they get the 10 cards, they give me $2,000, $2,500 right there, right at the show, and I'd give them the 10 cards. And then they would try to turn around and sell them for $400 to $500 each. It was a great deal for both of us, because I was like, I'll take the cash and you can do whatever. I was pulling them out of cases. I was opening up Upper Deck cases like it was water, because the cases only cost me about $400. So, and in a one case, I could actually pull like 20 to 30 Ken Griffey cards. So you can imagine, like, opening a case made total sense. Like, all right, I'll open a case, get 20 to 30 of these, sell them for $200 to $250. Like, I'm making so much money. Now, here's my point. 40 years later, those cards are not worth as much. Yet Ken Griffey Jr. is the hottest rookie card you can own. So a raw card right now I just sold like 8 or 9 of them at the last show that I did back in September. I sold them for between 55 and 60 bucks at this show. Now, remember, I sold the same raw card 40 years ago for $200 to $250. Tell me how that's an investment. Tell me how that's called appreciation. So anybody that's on social media, anybody that's on YouTube, anybody that's on Instagram, that's telling you to invest in sports cards, you should really stop and think for a second. Do not follow their advice. Please do not. If you want to make money in sports cards, this is what you need to know. You need to do your research, and I'm going to give you a couple tips on how to find the players that you can actually make money off of. So one is rookie prospecting. Absolutely. It is one of the most exciting parts of the sports card hobby. It is also the most risky aspect of sports card investing. I have so many Greg Jeffries rookie cards. You have no idea. And I'm planning on going on a trip to Burbank Cards, sports cards over in LA. Since they buy everything, I'm planning on bringing, and maybe I'll do a video. If you want to see what I'm going to bring to Burbank, DM me. Please put it in the comments. Say, hey, I want to see what you're bringing. And I will go through. I have 21 boxes that I've organized, and I've done the research, and I know how much they're worth, and I know how much I'm hoping to get at Burbank. And hopefully I can get that number, because I want to turn all of that inventory into cash, because then I can collect the stuff that I want. Why hold on to something that I don't want? Get the money and then turn it into something that I do want. And the whole point of where I'm at in my collecting hobby is that I just want to be able to do self-sustaining trading. That's it. So if I have something, I want to sell it for a little bit more so that I can then use the money to then buy something that I want to collect. And again, collecting is a long-term thing. So I've been collecting for 40 years. I used to be a dealer. I used to sell all the time. Like I said, 4 years of high school, actually, including 8th grade. So from 8th grade to 12th grade, I sold at a card show practically every single week. And so me and my dad, we would get in the car. I would load it up. I did all the work. I did all the research. I did all the pricing. And again, back then, there was no internet. So it was not as easy as it is today. I had to get the Beckett pricing guide, and I would have to look at month to month, and I could memorize all the prices because I knew my inventory. So I knew last month it was 35 bucks. This month it was 30. So I was like, all right, that's so that basically the trend's going down. So I had to figure out, okay, what could I sell? So anyway, so this is what you need to be able to do. So rookie prospecting, you need to get all the rookie reports. And you need to watch the internet and see who's being hyped. You need to get in the beginning of that hype and basically try to find out how you can get as many of that player's card for as cheap as you can. And the minute, and I mean minute, you need to be fast. The minute that they start hyping that player and people are buying that card, and that's what you want to see is volume. So the minute people are buying and selling that card at volume is when you need to sell, and sell for as much as you can sell. Don't try to get the highest price. Sell for what you can sell, but you need to sell fast. Okay, so if you're making $2-3 on a card, good. Make $2-3 on a card. If you buy 100 and you sell again for $2-3 on a card, that's $300. If you can make more, great. But trust me, you want to just make the money, make your profit and get out, because there's no point in holding that card. If you believe in the rookie, great, then keep one for yourself, but sell everything else. If there's one thing that I've learned over 40 years, do not hold on to more than your collection. You can only have one in your collection. So sell everything else. Now, the second piece is you actually have to look at the stats. Now, just be aware that the best player in MLB, NBA, NHL, NFL might not be the guy that people want to buy. There are plenty of superstars in these sports leagues that nobody cares about. This is in vintage category, but here's a perfect example. Nobody wants a Ted Williams card. If you try to sell a Ted Williams card, if you're outside of New England, no one wants it. It's it. But everybody wants a Mickey Mantle card. Even Red Sox fans want a Mickey Mantle card because the hobby in general has said these are the most valuable cards. It's the same thing with Derek Jeter's card. It doesn't matter what PSA grade you have. I had a PSA 7 that I sold for $30 at the last show in September. I didn't even have to haggle. I put it down for $30. The person came up to me and said, I'll take that. It was a PSA 7. I had all these other cards. I have a SGC 10 rookie auto Justin Jefferson. Now, Justin Jefferson is a great player. It doesn't matter. That Derek Jeter went faster than the Justin Jefferson. And I have a friend that's a dealer. He has the same problem. He actually traded into a Paul Goldschmidt because he had a Rafael Devers and nobody wanted it. And he said to me, he goes, because the numbers were about the same, what the cards were valued at. And he said, did I make a good deal? I said, yeah, because Paul Goldschmidt will go way faster than Rafael Devers. No one's going to buy a Rafael Devers card. There's just no market for it. So be careful. Now, one of the things that you need to be aware of is you have to understand the market. Who's buying cards? Because if you know who's buying cards, then you can buy what they want. That's how you make money. That's it. That's how you make money in the sports card hobby. So if you're trying to make money still in 2022, then basically you need to have the stuff that people want. Don't worry about investing. Don't worry about the future. Don't worry about what will happen. Deal with today, and you will actually be able to make anywhere from $50 to a couple $1,000. And then use that money to do whatever you want. Now, if you're trying to build a business, then you need to sustain that couple $1,000 a month over a full year. It's going to get, adds up to $30,000. And then if you can up your ante, you can actually kind of scale it up to $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year. But you got to grind. And that's not going to happen if you're investing in sports cards. So hopefully that made perfect sense. If you liked this advice, please let me know. Hit the like button, do a share. I want to thank everybody again. I've been a collector for over 40 years, and these are the things that I've learned. If you have any questions for me, like if you have like a collection, you're like, what do I do with this? What's the value? That's where I can kind of help. Again, like I said, if you want to know what I'm bringing to Burbank, let me know in the comments. Thank you so much. Have a great day.